I feel like on Doge, we're watching a football team, and clearly delineated down the middle of the field, you have the fans on the north side and the fans on the south side. And God forbid you have any level of crossover or conversation. The most common thing I have heard from people aligned with the left is like, well, they're not finding waste. All of these programs were approved. And it's kind of like, that's the point. Voters have concerns about Doge, even as they see need for cuts. A Fox News poll shows that while most voters think government spending is wasteful, many oppose recent budget cuts made by the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, under Trump. 65% worry the cuts weren't well planned. 56% disapprove of how waste is being reduced. And 51% don't want government jobs cut. Elon Musk's role in working with Doge is unpopular, with 58% disapproving. Most voters want more funding for Social Security, 63% of them specifically, Medicaid/Medicare, 58%, and medical research, 53%, while 44% support increasing military spending. Economic worries are growing, with 79% rating the economy poorly and 70% expecting a recession. Inflation and the economy are voters' top concerns, followed by political division, government corruption, and immigration. So the question is, does the government have a spending problem, or do we have a problem with how we define wasteful spending?
Oh, gee, I don't know. Good question. It's a good question. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the deficit is $36 trillion and counting. That's not just a number to say out loud. Let me explain to you what $36 trillion is. I'm going to give you something to keep in the context. 1 million seconds is 11 days. 1 billion seconds is 1 billion seconds, is about 33 years. A trillion is 1,000 billion. So if you are a trillionaire, you have $1,000 billion in the bank. And $1 trillion is about 32,000. I'm sorry, a trillion seconds is 32,000 years. That's a trillion seconds. Let me now say it's you can times that by 36 and counting. Huh? That's how much we owe.
Counting every second. And I don't care what the VIG is on that. The number is incomprehensible.
Right. So you want to know what the interest is? It doesn't matter. It's unbearable. So we're on fire. We're on fire. Unless you want to just look at that number as something on a computer and just like not honor any of our debts. But overall, we're on fire. If you were on fire and I had scalding hot water or no water, I'd have to throw scalding hot water on you just to put the fire out so we could figure out a way to save your life. If you had cancer and God forbid it was in both legs, I got to cut both your legs off. I don't want to cut both those legs off. That sucks as a last resort. Or a flesh-eating bacteria that's going to take your fucking life, but you got 3 kids and you got to pay the bills. I got to lop your feet off, Andy. Sorry about you swimming in that river with a cut on your toe. But this is how it goes sometimes. And I think that we are in triage right now. What in the fuck is the left offering as an alternative solution besides complaints, insults, and sarcasm? I'd like to know, because we're in real trouble here. You want to solve this COVID problem when you shut down the world and you shut down all these businesses and you just print a bunch of fucking money? And that's what's underpinning U.S. Treasury bonds? Huh? Joe Biden et al.? Is that what you guys want to do? And by the way, I'm laying some of the blame also on Republicans like George Bush and everything else. I'm not just blaming Democrats. This is like this wishful thinking, this insanity. It's what happens with government. So yes, like I said, Doge is going to come in and probably cut things. USAID does a lot of good, by the way. They also do a lot of bullshit, but they do a lot of good. And people really do rely on that, and they save lives. And I know some people that work for USAID.
I think that's true of every government agency that we could talk about.
Exactly.
The problem is, what people don't understand is how, I'll use USAID as an example that ties loosely into my old job. It is a mechanism, hypothetically, for an intelligence apparatus to go outside of anything that is government oversight or controlled to fund things in places that we may not necessarily want to be to allow for people on the ground to do shit that you may not want the American people to know about. That's true too.
True for sure, where certain intelligence agencies use USAID to be anonymous and do extrajudicial things. It's also true that when you have these agencies, NGOs, quote unquote, will also be used by activists to push forward and finance a rather extremist agenda, whether that's, bombing pipelines, etc. Greenpeace is in a fucking lawsuit right now. It's I think it's Department of Commerce or Energy has sued, or I think it's the pipeline company has sued Greenpeace for some astronomical amount of money because Greenpeace was instrumental in providing cover and I think material to essentially an eco-terrorist group that really caused a lot of damage to this pipeline. So yeah, man. Yeah. Now the football, the hot potato here for any administration is to take on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. Oh boy. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
That's not easy, man. And that's going to be a liability, but those are the things you have to do. So if anything, Doge will at least come in and say, hey, this stuff is so antiquated. And let's talk about Elon Musk for a second. We've counted him out every single time. I remember when Tesla's stock was nothing, when people were saying that I knew who sophisticated investors saying, he's finished. Tesla's finished. He's done. Yeah, right. This is my third Tesla. Now, I may be, my friends call me a cuck and they won't let me get in their truck because it won't start, but that's fine. Love the car.
Accurate.
Thank you.
The description.
And then, of course. And it was Twitter and they said he's going to go broke. He made the biggest mistake of his life. Well, X is alive and well. And then and people attacked him for it. And let's talk about SpaceX. SpaceX is the most successful private space company on the planet, to the point where NASA is now contracting SpaceX because SpaceX figured out a way, something that Boeing couldn't do, to cheaply launch rocket after rocket to supply the International Space Station, not only with a shuttle service for astronauts that are done with their rotation, but also for materials that they need up there. And so guess what? Elon Musk is getting these contracts from NASA. It's doing great. Starlink is another thing that's being used. So this guy seems to prove all the critics wrong all the time. And he's a disruptor. He is a great visionary. Does he have his shortcomings? Does he have 14 kids by 4 different women? Blah, blah, blah. Talk all you want. It doesn't mean somebody is beyond reproach, beyond criticism. But man, I have some faith in this guy. I really do. And I think he overall has made the world a better place. You've got people like AOC and Bernie Sanders and all these people in the Democratic Party going bad on Elon Musk and wanting Tesla to fail. Well, Tesla, using government subsidies, which was a government program, Tesla is a zero emissions car. Isn't that what you guys wanted? Yes, they have to use nickel and cadmium and all these other things that are sourced in the Congo and parts of Russia, I guess, to make it. And it's got a big footprint to make. But overall, this was the whole point of this. This was a zero emissions and environmentally friendly machine that the Democrats were very much behind until he started working with Trump. And now they want him to die. So, kiss my ass with your hypocrisy and your bullshit for a second. You don't get it both ways, fuckface. God, I'm really strong with my language.
That's all right. I like it. You're passionate about it.
Look at that thing. It's rotating.
On the special 4-episode Change Agent series, Black Project, we hear from experts, whistleblowers, and insiders to try to figure out if our government is behind these strange craft. And if so, why are they keeping the truth from the public?
We're told never to talk about this.
We'll look at the history of special access programs and see just how far ahead the most secretive elements of the military-industrial complex are. and what it will take to finally get the truth.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs? Yes or no?
Yes. Become an Ironclad YouTube member to binge all 4 episodes of Change Agents Black Project on launch day. Otherwise, catch new episodes weekly. Join now, YouTube at This Is Ironclad. I don't understand, or I don't know. I feel like on Doge, we're watching a football team, and clearly delineated down the middle of the field, you have the fans on the north side and the fans on the south side. And God forbid you have any level of crossover or conversation. The most common thing, and I'm not trying to make this political, but the most common thing I have heard from people aligned with the left is like, well, they're not finding waste. All of these programs were approved. And it's kind of like, that's the point. Why the fuck were they approved in the first place?
Let me stop you there on that point for anybody saying that. Let me just take Biden's accounting office that looked at 70 government agencies and in 2023 found that there were 236 billion irregular payments, overpayments, and outright graft. And that's Biden's very preliminary, very superficial audit. Once again, how's it going? Are you saying there isn't an astronomical amount of waste in the U.S. government? Is that what we're saying? Nobody, if anybody, any Republican or Democrat who says that is absolutely, it's just lying. It's just not telling the truth.
Well, politicians, that's not fair to say. Politicians are not known for lying.
At all.
That's what's crazy, though. And again, you could take that same football analogy into the Senate, into the Congress. God forbid anybody waffle other than the party line. I don't see how we're going to get a single, I don't see how anyone, given the math breakdown that you provided, how anyone could say, you know what, that sounds sustainable. I think we should stay the course. And yet in the halls of our own government, they are unwilling, incapable, or some combination of the two of working together to find a solution because they're so dogmatically aligned. If this idea comes from this side, it's all bad. If it comes from this side, I don't know how we break through that.
Well, the way you break through that somehow is you create accountability, or you essentially just shrink government. Look, you and I, most of us live a life where I look at what's working and what's not working, right? I may like doing something, but if it's not providing results, if I'm not making more money as a result, if I have an employee that's just not doing their job, you got to go. I may like you, but this is not working. You know, again, I always ask that. I've fired agents and managers in the past because I've said, I've come in and I said, I've paid your light bill this year. What have you done? Can you justify your job? I'm just asking. If you can justify your job, I hope you can, because I am so on board, because I really like you as a person. If you can't justify your job, I have a friend who's a billionaire, and he hires people this way. He says, what do you want as a salary? Tell me anything you want. They go, I want, $1 million a year. Awesome. So you get $1 million a year, but here's the deal. In 6 months, whatever you do, whatever you're doing, your skill set has to ensure that I'm breaking even. And in a year, I've got to be making more than that. I've got to be making at least 50% more than that. You want to take the deal? Otherwise, you're gone. And it's a great way to do it. It puts it on that.
I would take $5 million and, just ride that year out, really saving as much as I could, because it's, what I mean? If he's going to fire me.
That's so unethical.
So, well, what I hear you saying, though, is it's like Shab in comedy. If it's not working, you just have to move on.
Sorry, you broke up just now. Sorry, Anthony, you broke up. I didn't hear you.
I mean, that's how. I'm actually glad you took it down to that place of just talking about in your life, whether it's in business or whether, I mean, people could look at that even just from a relationship perspective with their significant other. If it's not working at some point in time, hopefully, you are able to move on, whether that's amicably or not. That's a different thing and what happens beyond that. But there are all these inflection points in business and in personal life where you have to make decisions. Is this improving my situation or moving me more towards my goals? If the answer is yes, perhaps modify and sustain. And if the answer is no, fucking let it go. Let go of the rope.
This is what I feel like when I had a family member recently, and they did some great stuff for me. And I've been so busy that I just didn't honor the effort. I didn't thank them. I just didn't fucking, I was so busy and I didn't realize the extent of what they were doing for me. And their feelings were hurt. And I could have come up with 1,000 excuses. I could have said, this, that, and the other thing. But what mattered there is that's my family member who I respect and love. And I want them to feel, if they feel that way, that's a reality that I have to fix, which means I got to mea culpa that. You're right. I'm wrong. I have excuses, but they're not relevant here. Because what's going to work for our relationship moving forward is that I honor what you're saying. I say I'm sorry. I say you're right, because I would have felt the same way. And let's go from there, because that works. What is going to work here? Well, you guys, if you're a SEAL Team 6 guy like you guys, you had to fucking figure out, I don't give a shit about what your problem was. If it doesn't work, people can die. So you have to be agnostic here. This comes down to physics. Well, we're here to solve. One of the things about Hollywood and being on a movie set, by the way, is the people around you solve problems all day long. Nobody is saying I can't. Nobody's complaining. No. We got to shoot. And if you're doing a movie, this is $1 million a day. Nobody wants to be the problem. No one. Nobody wants to say if that light doesn't work, if this prop breaks, you have another prop. There's another prop. If we need another wig because this isn't working, there's another wig, I promise. So the people that are working on movies like The Joker or Hangover, the very best, they're so buttoned down, it's unbelievable. There are no mistakes. No one is late because we got to shoot. And if we have to wait for you, that's going to cost us a minimum of $200,000. No one wants to be a $200,000 mistake. When you have the U.S. government, no one is worried because no one is paying that bill. Because all we have to do is print money. All we have to do is pass the buck down the line. And so now what you have is a giant, unaccountable money printing leviathan. And we will destroy ourselves. You can see it. If anybody has any doubts, read a book called Boomerang. Take a look at what happened to Greece. Take a look at what happened to a lot of countries in Europe. Take a look at what happened to a lot of towns in California that ended up voting in politicians who were beholden to the Firemen's Safety Union, police union. God bless the police. God bless firefighters. But when you don't have a tax base to pay out the kind of pensions that policemen, firemen, and other people are asking for when they work 20 years and get full benefits for their entire family, you can't afford it, man. You can't afford it. But a town will do that to themselves and render themselves completely broke. I mean, they'll just go broke. Stockton, California is fucking broke. It's in debt. And the United States will do that to itself. We know this. So what are you going to do about it? You don't like Doge? You got a solution? You don't have a solution. Tim Walz doesn't have a solution. That's why I did this video about that guy on my Instagram. That guy doesn't have a solution. He wants Tesla's stock to drop. A company that employs, I think, 100,000 Americans, an American company, a company that you guys backed with government subsidies because it was environmentally responsible. A company, by the way, Tim Walz, you fucking dummy, that I think 3% of your state's pension plan is Tesla stock, you fucking idiot, and you're the governor, and you wonder why your side lost? Like, you're so dumb. You're just dumb because you're a part of the problem. You're not a part of the solution. And if he was in SEAL Team 6 or on a movie set, you know what would happen? They'd go like this: get him out of here. I don't like that guy. He's a weak suck. And he's in my fucking way. He's gunking up the things. Let's get Callen in here. And then the command would say, he's in Austin doing comedy. And then you guys would say, I need a man who doesn't look tough, but who can withstand the kind of temperatures that a lot of us can't. A guy who can rock 200 pounds on his back because he's a fucking human ant.
That's not true.
Because he's all about fascia and tension. A guy who can just blend into the background. A guy who can draw a bead and doesn't even need a scope, but can taste the wind on the end of his fucking tongue and eat things that'll make a billy goat puke. In fact, doesn't even need food. Who lives on grass and grasshoppers. You understand, bro?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know who you're describing. You're probably thinking you're describing yourself, but none of those are actually accurate. So
I was saying that's who I would be. I'd be the guy. They call me the. Like, what would be a good nickname for me if I was in your team on SEAL Team 6?
Clump. Probably.
Andy, that's so insulting. That's so insulting.
Anchor. I don't know. I mean, again, I would love to see other people's solutions. I agree with what you're saying. Instead of arguing against a potential solution that a party is trying to apply, show me something better. Instead of just complaining about what they're trying to do, give me an alternative, and then we can have that conversation. Saying we shouldn't do anything, it's this insane printing press that seems to be, you never have to refill the ink cartridge on the old U.S. Treasury's ability to print money. Again, the test results are out there if people search for them.
That's the difference between, constructive criticism and just criticism, right? I mean, if you're going to criticize me, I'm not going to listen to you. If you're going to criticize me and tell me a way to get better, I'm all ears. I welcome it, So same thing.